Hi guys! Welcome back to Allie's Bookie Reads. This is the new Booktuber Tag, so you guys can get to know a little bit about me and my channel and why I decided to do this and what I love about books and this community in general. The first question is, why did you start this channel? I started this channel because I absolutely love to read, and I don't have anybody really in my life that likes to talk about books as much as I do, reads as much as I do. I need that interaction with the book community to give me the recommendations and to talk about things I like, things I didn't like. I'm looking more for the interaction, and that's why I started this channel rather than just reading the books and then going on with my life. Question number 2, what are some fun and unique things that you can bring to the booktube community? One of the big things that I'm hoping that I can incorporate into my channel while I'm still brainstorming on how I'm going to do it, I love to knit. I feel like I'm good at it. I've been doing it since I was young, same with reading. I like to knit and read at the same time, so I'm hoping maybe I can make a video about how I do that, like my setup for when I'm reading and knitting at the same time, kind of the types of books I like to read when I do that. I bet you'd be surprised to find out what I read when I knit. So I'm hoping I can incorporate that a little bit into it. Next, what am I most excited about for my channel? I'm most excited about interacting with people. Again, the reason I started this channel is so that I can have more interaction with people who also really love books. I do have friends who read. Every once in a while I'll recommend them a book that they'll read and then we can talk about it, but I read so many books. I do get a lot of the inspiration for the books I read from the booktube community, so I know people are reading the same or similar things that I'm reading, and I don't have to force them to do so. Okay, next question is why I love reading. I have always loved reading. I've loved it since I was a kid. My mom introduced it to me at a young age. I really only ever had the option of reading when I grew up, and it wasn't necessarily that I was forced to read, but I was given a half hour of television every single day, and I typically picked to watch Arthur, and then the rest of the time I had to entertain myself. I was never big into dolls or like fake makeup or any of that stuff, so I really became a bookworm from a young age. My mom took me to the library all the time. I was constantly getting new books, constantly reading things. I read anything and everything when I was younger. I have, as an adult, whittled down what I like to read, favorite genres, what I don't like to read, but when I was young I would literally just go to the new shelf, grab anything that I hadn't seen yet, because I went to the library so often. I read probably everything our little library had to read, honestly. So I would just grab what they had new, read through it, return it, and then again grab everything new. My favorite authors when I was young was Roald Dahl, and my favorite book still to this day is Matilda. I love that it's a book about a girl who loves reading. I really related to her when I was younger. I really felt misunderstood when I was younger and related to Matilda a lot in that sense. I also really liked Beverly Cleary and the Ramona and Beezus series. I really related to the younger one, Ramona, more than Beezus. Always felt like the annoying child, even though I was the older one. Louis Sacker was another one. Holes was one of my favorite books. Highway Stories from Wayside School I really liked. You can see me actually talk about that book in a future video with my friend Jeanette. We went over a little bit of our favorite books when we were kids. Another book series that I really liked, and this genre has rolled over into my adulthood, is I really liked a series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I would absolutely love to reread that series. I read it while it was still coming out, so like I read the first one and then I'd wait for the second one all the way up to, I believe there were 13, and I don't know that I ever finished the 13th because I think it came out when I was a little bit older and never read that. And then one series that probably doesn't hold up as much as it did when I was younger, I really liked a series called The Click. There was a movie about it. It was a very cheesy movie, but it was about a group of kind of catty mean girls, and they let this girl named Claire into their club, but they were kind of mean to her, and there were a lot of books and I read all those. And I also really liked the Mary Kate and Ashley mystery books. You can actually see, I know I've talked a lot about books and Lala on this video or on my channel a lot recently. I really do look up to her, and I think that she's an absolutely fantastic booktuber in person, but she recently did a video where she went over all of her favorites as a child, and one of them was Mary Kate and Ashley Mystery, and she said it didn't hold up quite to what she remembered it, so probably a lot of my favorite childhood series wouldn't hold up, but I would be interested in reading the Lemony Snicket again. I think that those probably are still pretty good, but as far as the last couple I mentioned, I know that they're not probably great. Oh, the next question was what book series got your reading? I kind of already went over that in why I like to read. Oh, another reason that I like to read is because I cannot focus on television. For some reason, my attention span is perfect for YouTube videos, even YouTube videos that are 16 minutes long. I don't know the reason for that. Maybe it's the storyline, maybe it's the characters. I'm not certain, but movies and books just like make me fall asleep instantly, and movies and television make me fall asleep instantly. Books for some reason capture my attention. I do like to be moving around and doing something when I read. We'll get to that question later on down the Booktube tag. I don't like just sitting still. You will see that the chair that I'm sitting in is a rocking chair. I like to rock when I read. I am very fidgety. I can't just sit still. So what questions would I ask booktubers? My favorite booktubers. I have 3 here on Booktube that I really adore. The first one being obviously Books and Lala. Kayla, her channel name is Books and Lala. We have very similar reading interests. I think that she creates extremely unique content. She's not just doing TBRs and wrap-ups and book hauls. She really thinks about her videos and plans them out and executes them, which is the part that is really impressive, because she gets these crazy ideas in her head and she really goes through with them, and I really admire that about her. I'd like to ask her questions about her creative process, how she comes up with these videos. She must just be a really creative person. Her, and then also My Reading is Odd, Natasha, her channel name is My Reading is Odd. I would ask both of them what it's like living in Canada. I've obviously never lived in Canada. I live in the Midwest, Iowa. I'm surrounded by corn. I would really like to know what it's like to live in Canada. I know it probably gets colder than it does here, and it's pretty cold here sometimes. So with Natasha, I love her horror thriller reviews. We are both sluts for Stephen King. My top 2 shelves here are mostly Stephen King and Joe Hill. I have from this here on, these are not Stephen King. So I have 3 books on my 2 shelves, and then at the top I have his Dark Tower series, the full series, which I haven't read yet. Stephen King is one of my favorite authors. What I love about him is not just like because he writes a lot of books or because he writes good books. I get so sucked into his story. He writes plot lines and environments and characters that are so compelling. And I don't typically like books that are very atmospheric. I don't care that gravel was super dirty or the road was red as her lipstick was. I don't care about any of those descriptions. That's entirely not what I look for in a book. But the way that he writes an atmospheric tale is so different than anything else. He absolutely sucks you into the story. You are in his world. They're all centered around Maine. I'd love to visit Maine someday just so I can see what he loves so much about the setting. I know that Natasha really loves him as well. The third person that I absolutely adore and I watch every video that she puts out is Chelsea Dawling. Now Chelsea and I have actually kind of differing interests. She reads a lot of YA, she reads some fantasy, I guess not a lot. She likes fantasy more than I do. I'm really not big on fantasy. And she reads a lot of smut and romance. That there have been some things that she's recommended that I've really loved. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this probably, but her absolute favorite book, The Hating Game, was very meh for me. And I really loved the second book that I'm completely blanking on the name right now, but the second book by Sally Thorne that everybody didn't like so much, thought it was very middle of the road. I gave it 4 stars. So very differing book taste, but I think that the way that she talks about books and the way that she sells them for me, even books that maybe aren't necessarily my interest, really sound intriguing to me. Just a testament to how inspiring booktubers are. You can make someone who really hates fantasy or doesn't read a lot of romance check out some of those books. If I had to ask Chelsea and Natasha a combined question, it would be what they would pick out for my makeup and my hair. That would be absolutely wild, because I know that they do really fun and funky and crazy colors with their makeup and their hair, and they always look very put together and very nice, and I cannot relate. So the next question is what challenges I think to starting a booktube channel. My first one being creativity. I am a very creative person. I did this a little bit for a creative outlet as well as to interact with people, but I feel like a lot of the content that I would make has already been made. I had this idea to make a podcast, or sorry, a series or a video about books about podcasts, and then also do along with that, like, if you like this podcast, or if you like this book, you like this podcast, if you like this podcast, you like this book. And then Books and Lola actually did a one of her overly specific book tags about books about podcasts. So I missed that train. I thought that was a really good idea. I do have some brainstorms for some different readathons that I may try and am interested in maybe starting. So that's up my sleeve. The other thing is I film all my videos for a month on one day, and I believe that that is going to be a challenge, having to come up with all of my videos to film on one day. I do film along with a friend. We use her equipment. I have to take a day off work to do it, and so I absolutely love my friend Jeanette, and we get to do these things together, but I do think that it is going to be a challenge having to brainstorm all my ideas at once. If I come up with a good idea or I forget to include something, I'm just kind of up a creek. I've also never edited a video. I am going to have my boyfriend, who is a big technological nerd, help me a lot with this. So hopefully he'll be able to give me some insight on that and help me with that. But that'll be another challenge because I am not technologically savvy at all. In fact, I had to try and figure out my thermostat yesterday and it didn't work, and it is extremely hot in my house today. When did I start reading? So I a little bit already talked about this. I read since I was born. My mom read to me constantly. In fact, she said that she would try and skip pages because I wanted to read so much and she just wanted to get the book done, and I would have the book memorized, and so I'd make her go back a page and say, no, you skipped that part. We have home videos of me reading books when it's just actually I've memorized every page because my mom read them to me so much that I could tell you exactly the line by line what was happening on video. I started reading chapter books in kindergarten, those Mary Kate and Ashley books. That's what I read in kindergarten and first grade. And then from there I just kept fostering my love of reading. I have never stopped. People think I'm crazy. I read on average about 100 pages a day. Where do I read? So I alluded to this question a little bit. I read in some multiple places. I really, really, really like to move when I'm reading. So I have my rocking chair. I got this at REI, a sporting equipment store. My boyfriend and I also do a lot of hiking, so we were there looking for some supplies, and I ran across this and I had to have it, and I love it so much. I also have a swinging chair outside. It's not like a bench swing, it's like a scoop swing that I sit in and read outside when it's nice enough. I live in Iowa, so our weather is pretty finicky, especially around this time of year. It could be raining one hour and sunny the next, and then snowing the next, and tornadoing the hour after that. So it's all kind of up to the weather whether I can do that outside or not. I also read a lot in the pool and my back as well. So I walk back and forth laps in the pool at my gym every single night. I go at 8 p.m. My boyfriend and I both go. We just get it out of the way with. And I read back and forth, back and forth. And I tend to bring books that I don't like to the pool and to walk for two reasons. First off, I'm trapped in the pool. I can't do anything else. I don't have my cell phone there. I can't get distracted by it. I easily get through books that I may or may not be enjoying in the pool faster than I would if I had access to any other distractions. Second off, if I'm already miserable, if I'm already hurting, if I'm already in pain, I might as well continue the misery, and then when I'm out, I can enjoy maybe things I'm more interested in. When I'm at home, I mean, I'll pretty much read anywhere. I read at my desk, on my lunch, if I'm not having to work through my lunch. We have like little drop-in rooms. I'll go in there and I'll read. I read on the bus. If I take the bus to work, I can literally read anywhere. There's nowhere that I wouldn't. I carry a book with me at all times, so if I'm stuck in a long line, I'll pull out my book and read. There's pretty much no place that I won't read. What kinds of books do I like? This is a really good question. My interests include memoirs and biographies. I absolutely adore reading about other people's lives. I think it's really interesting to find out about interesting characters. I have some biographies that I really, really want to read right now. I have one about Dr. Seuss. I have one about Mr. Rogers. Some of my favorite biographies I read are about Billy Joel, whom I absolutely adore. I read probably 8, 9, 10 biographies about Elvis. I read some about Michael Jackson. Really eccentric and interesting personalities intrigue me, and I love reading about things that I may or may not already know about them. Along the lines of memoir biography, I do like reading true crime. The true crime that I read is usually focused on one specific person or one specific crime. I don't like to read compilations of true crime. I know that one of my favorite true crime authors, Anne Rule, writes like case file type. I prefer her ones that are like one straight story, so I do like that. I love thrillers. I'm big on those twist endings. I've read so many good ones. I think that there are so many authors doing so many interesting things right now with thrillers. The genre is definitely not getting tired. It's only getting better. I love some mysteries. There are some mysteries that I don't like. I'm trying to get into Agatha Christie because she does write some really good mysteries, and I'm just kind of on the fence with some of them. They're written a little bit more literary than I like to read. I will read a lot of adult contemporary and historical fiction. I love World War II fiction, and obviously horror. Stephen King is my one true love. And as far as what I don't like, I hardly ever pick up fantasy or dystopian. This is another book that I'll get a lot of flack for, but I really did not like The Handmaid's Tale. I would actually probably say it is one of my least favorite books I have ever read. Along the lines of that though, I don't particularly like classics or extremely literary books. I like literary fiction. I don't like things that I would have read in high school. Don't tend to pick that up a lot. I also don't read a lot of romance. I like some romance, especially during the summer, but I like my stories to have other elements to it. So if there's a romance included in a thriller, love that. If it's just romance, take it or leave it. Depends on the story. Other than that, I think that pretty much wraps up the new YouTuber book tag. If you're a new and up-and-coming YouTube booktuber, I would love to follow you. I would love to follow you across all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and let me know down below, and just check it out and say hi. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day. Bye.